Isn't it sad how our forefathers were promised freedom, personal freedom, freedom of religion, cheap land, come to America, and suddenly the globalists in, and they start squeezing us. You think what's happened in the past 50 years? They start squeezing us, taxing us ferociously. And a recent newspaper said this school district taxes are going up. We have to fix up playing fields, sports fields, and on, and we got to put the taxes up again. Oh my goodness. Right now, taxes are too high already, and so they want to put them up higher. We'll see. Oh, Randall, he has the answer. Casinos. Gamble. We'll take the gambling earnings and we'll give them to the local municipalities and bring the tax down. Why? This is the most foolish thing. What did he do with most of that money already? Assigned it to build sports stadiums. Coca-Cola Field in Allentown, Clipper Stadium in Lancaster, and the Revolution Field in York, and who knows where else, the big Coliseum out in Pittsburgh for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I guess a new Coliseum or a new Spectrum down in Philly. Sports is, like in Rome, sports and bread and circus. And that's what we're having here in the United States, and people don't see where it's going. Wasting money that should be used to relieve the economic pressure. And what do? We're going to up the taxes. Put the taxes up. Take more money from people. And so here Yahweh sets his hand the second time to recover the remnant of his people that remain from Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the seas. And he will set up an ensign, a flag for the nations, and will assemble the outcasts of Israel, just like Israel had to encamp around their flag. The flag of their tribe when they came out of Egypt. He's going to set his flag up. Everyone who wants to go to the kingdom, gather here around this flag. And gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and they that vex Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. And they shall fly down upon the shoulder of the Philistines on the west shore of Israel. Together shall they despoil the children of the east. They shall put forth their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. And Yahweh will utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea, and with his scorching wind, just like the deliverance on the last high day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, when he delivered Israel through the Red Sea. He's going to allow a scorching wind to come up, and he'll wave his hand over the river, the Nile, and will strike it into 7 streams and cause men to march over dry shod. And there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people that shall remain from Assyria, like as there was for Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt. He's going to have a highway to go back to Israel. What a glorious passage, prophetic passage, isn't it? Yahweh has never yet restored Israel from the Assyrian captivity, but now, in the end of the age, he will restore it. My inspiration, I learned from confronting hard times in the past. Some of you remember how I described 1981 when I didn't have the money to make payroll. And how are we going how are we going to live? We got to eat. And I didn't have money to make payroll, but somebody had attended services here off and on. And when I couldn't make payroll, I went to Yahweh. Yahweh, we worked. What are we going to eat? Telephone rings. How would you like potatoes? Potatoes? Why, sure, I said. Well, he said, probably there's 800 to 1,000 pounds of potatoes down here that are going to be fed to the hogs. And I told the potato grower, hold them. I know somebody who can put them to use feeding people and not hogs. So I and several went down, and we went down to this potato grower, and this was a woman. And yes, she said, you can have the potatoes free of charge. Load them up. Pick out potatoes. So we loaded them up, and I said, well, we have enough money in the fund. We can buy onions, and we can make raw fried potatoes, and we'll have enough money to get everyone a jar of ketchup. Boy, did we live good that night. But I'll tell you, this is how Yahweh has worked with this ministry. I once had no money to make payroll Friday morning. No money in the bank. And yet the people wanted to have their paychecks. And so I knelt down and prayed. And then the mail came. I started opening letters. And before I knew what happened, I had enough money to make payroll. Wait a minute, I said. I just prayed maybe an hour or two ago. Suddenly the mail comes, and their money is there to make payroll. Now Yahweh out here was already watching out for us. And even before I knew that we didn't have money in the bank to make payroll, Yahweh already laid it upon hearts to give, so that the letters would arrive on Friday morning. You see, I've seen miracles like this time and time and time again in this ministry. And unless you were here at Bethel, you wouldn't understand. I can't make you understand what Yahweh has done. Miraculous things. Miraculous things. He's healed us, and he's done a great many things. So this morning, my thrust is to show the end from the beginning. Remember to live one day at a time. And remember that this too shall pass. Take heart. Elevate your faith. Hold on. Help is coming. And don't be troubled what's right ahead of you. Look into the future. That's our goal. Look into the future when the kingdom of Yahweh is coming. The end from the beginning. How will this time of trouble end? Oh, we're in for a time of trouble, undeniably. Isaiah chapter 35. The wilderness, Isaiah 35, page 570. The wilderness, let's think of the wilderness condition. And the dry land shall be glad. This is a drought-stricken land. And the desert shall rejoice and blossom as a rose. All these things are going to change someday. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice even with joy and singing. And the glory of Lebanon shall be given to it, and the excellency of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the glory of Yahweh, the excellency of our Elohim. Strengthen the weak hands. That's what I'm trying to do this morning. Strengthen the weak hands. Confirm the feeble knees. Say to them that are of a fearful heart, don't be fearful. Be strong. Fear not. Behold, your Elohim will come with vengeance. He's going to come with angry judgment. And he will save you. with the recompense of Elohim, he will come and save you. And he'll do that. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened. They may be blind spiritually at the present time. And the ears of the deaf, those who aren't listening, shall be unstopped. Then they'll start listening to Yahweh's law, and they're going to be blessed. Then shall the lame man leap as a hart. Oh yes, I believe that the blind are going to be given sight. The ears of the deaf are going to hear. But I think we have to go just a little bit further with this text. Then the lame man, the one that is lame because of not fully obeying Yahweh, or something like Jacob limping on his leg in a wrestling match with Yahweh. Then shall the lame man leap as a hart, like a deer, and the tongue of the dumb shall sing. For in the wilderness shall waters break out and streams in the desert. There's going to be a renewal of this earth into an Edenic paradise. That's what I'm looking forward to, this Edenic paradise. And the glowing sand shall become a pool, and the thirsty ground springs of water, and the habitation of jackals where they lay shall be grass with reeds and rushes, and a highway shall be. How are we going to get there? Well, we have to get on the highway, and a way, and it shall be called the way of holiness. We aren't going to get to the kingdom unless we practice sanctification. Separation for a holy purpose. That's what this passage is all about. Taking us to the kingdom. How do we get there? The highway and the way that is a way of holiness. It shall be called the way of holiness, the holiness way. The unclean shall not pass over it. You want to be unclean? By eating pork or whatever else, this is why I try to be so strict with my diet and try to watch the products that come into the home very strictly. The unclean shall not pass over it, will be denied access because they're not obeying Yahweh. Listen, if you don't obey Yahweh and you want to remain unclean, what does Paul say? He is kind of taking off from this passage in 2 Corinthians chapter 6. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. And verse 17. Therefore come out from among them. What does that mean? Keep on fraternizing with the world. When I worked at Grimes Poultry, the guys used to say, well, we'll go for a beer. And I'd say, okay, you go for a beer, I'll go home. I had other things to do. I needed to be at home, I needed to work for Yahweh, and so I didn't go along with them. So sometimes they'd ask, why don't you want to come along with us? Because I don't want to waste my time sitting there hearing lies and all kinds of distortions. And when I can be home, I can be reading the Bible, I can be working for Yahweh, I can be making radio broadcasts, I can be answering letters, and at the very least I can be fraternizing with my wife, who hasn't seen me maybe for the last 12 hours. Come out from among them and be separate, says Yahweh. Are you listening? We must be different than the world. Different than the world. Different than the world. Not involved in computer games that are so violent and things of that nature. If you're addicted to computer games, do you think Yahweh's going to let you have your computer games in the kingdom? Start thinking about that. And then you're going to have to say, I don't think so. So we better get rid of them now, so that we're not addicted to them. Touch no unclean thing. Touch no unclean thing. And we have plenty of laws in the Torah that teach us the clean and the unclean. Touch no unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father to you, and you shall be to me sons and daughters. And if you do touch the unclean thing, I will not receive you. For many years, our dentist was a Jewish man, and we were there one day, and his wife was cleaning out the refrigerator. They had a refrigerator there. They kept their lunches in it, I guess. And she said, I'm getting 11 out. What do you think I found? She said, a ham and cheese sandwich. I said, a ham and cheese sandwich. Well, he ignored me and kept on working. Kind of chuckled. Well, would he order a ham and cheese sandwich? I hope not. But yet, maybe he was. Maybe he was eating something like that. Still in all, it turns my stomach just to walk through a supermarket. That's why I rarely go shopping. I rarely went shopping with my wife, because it turns my stomach just to see pork. After being in India and seeing what pork is like. And so here we have the end from the beginning. Touch no unclean thing, and I will receive you and will be a father to you. But if you do touch the unclean thing, I won't be a father to you. I'll reject you. So that's why we have to be very careful. Let's take courage from these marvelous prophecies. Isaiah 35. How about it appears, and I was holding my breath a few times when some of the brethren brought up Jeremiah 31. Now, in Jeremiah 31, it says, at that time. What time is it? Well, I have an arrow drawn from that time up to the word the latter days. So Jeremiah 31 is dealing with the latter days. And Jeremiah 31 and the latter days, verse 23, behold, the tempest of Yahweh, even his wrath, has gone forth, a sweeping tempest. And the Weather Channel was predicting more tornadoes, the small whirlwinds, for overnight. I don't know what happened overnight. I haven't listened to the news. But they were predicting more tornadoes for overnight. There was a bad tornado or cyclone or wind or something that blew through Fort Worth, Texas, and leveled a lot of buildings. The pictures were in our paper. Yahweh's speaking, but the people of our country aren't listening. They're committed to illicit sex. They're committed to fulfilling their own lusts. And they're not listening to Yahweh speaking through the storm and the wind and rain and other things, floods. And it shall burst upon the head of the wicked. The fierce anger of Yahweh shall not return until he has executed, until he has performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days you shall understand it. Do I understand it? Yes, I do. Yes, I understand it. Do you understand it?